So I mentioned this already. You need to take out your note sheet and your practice from Friday. If you were not here, you can come get it from me at the back table. No one came, so I'm guessing you're all here. You don't need them unless you need them for calculating something that you don't really. All right, guys, I didn't give you permission to talk. All right, that didn't require a response from you. So let's just keep it down. So we will finish the lesson. We didn't get to the cool down. So that was the other paper that you picked up today on your way in. If you didn't pick it up, just wait. I don't want, again, another movement. But the cool downs are going to be on a separate paper, and it's going to have basically all the lessons in the unit on that one paper. Because I can tell you that a lot of your test questions, whether it be like on the unit test, final exam, on any small quizzes, are going to be mostly based off of those cool downs. Those are really good questions to ask students. So having them on their own separate paper makes studying purposes a lot easier. Plus, those are what we do together. So another reason that it's going to be on a separate paper, and it's going to be part of your binder check. So I don't necessarily check everything every single day, but anything that you take notes on, like those note sheets and those cool downs that are on their own separate page, are part of your binder check. So that's why you should all have a binder and be placing them in order in your 3-ring binder. That's why there's holes and everything. But the goal from last week was to make, compare, and interpret data displayed. I know that's kind of tricky when I don't give you a whole lot of initial instruction, but just know that a lot of what we do in here is going to be activity-based versus me just talking for 30 minutes and you taking notes. All right. By the way, headphones should be put away. I don't believe the thing when you guys say, oh, it's off, because regardless, I'll still send you to Mr. No if you don't listen the first time I tell you. All right, but I had you make histograms, box plots, dot plots last week. And even though I didn't give you a whole lot of guidance, we critiqued them, if you remember. And I know a lot of people were like freaking out, like they weren't done, but that critiquing part was really important so that you guys can see what mistakes were made and so that you don't make those mistakes on the test. So hopefully you were taking really good notes. If not, I did record the lesson if you want to rewatch it. And I also included in here my recordings from last year, since again, last year was less activity based. But if you learn better that way, I know I learned better from someone just telling me what to do, because I'm really good at following instructions and following steps. It's in there. All right, you can even see like my costume off here. All right, so that's in there for box plots and for dot plots and histogram. I don't have a lot of tutoring days available. The only days that I'm available are Wednesdays. And even then, sometimes I have meetings. So then I have to cancel tutoring. So that's why I go out of my way to record lessons, to provide you links to lessons that either I did or someone else did previously, because these basically tell you everything you need to know. But of course, if you watch it and still have questions, feel free to ask me, preferably during class time, because again, tutoring hours are very limited. So questions on that. All right, this page again is a note sheet. I know I checked them, or not I checked, but I made you turn in the first two from when I was absent. That was just to hold you accountable, making sure that you watch the lesson. From now on, they're going to be part of your binder check. So make sure that they're filled out. You can refer to the notes in Schoology once you do finish the lesson, and then keep them for the binder check. The practice, which we did not get to at all Friday, is that other paper you should have. It has like 6 questions. it's front and back, like horizontally, or landscape orientation, right? We should have time today, granted, maybe not a lot of time. My first class had just 10 minutes, but 10 minutes to do 6 problems really isn't that bad. Whatever you don't finish will be homework. And usually when I give you paper assignments in class and I give you time to do them, I check them usually the same day and give you points for whatever you have so far, even if you're not done. So then, if you want to upload it to Schoology for the rest of the points, you can. Or if you're absent when I check it, then you just upload it to Schoology. But that way, there's like less uploading you have to do, but that's just the one time I check it and then you upload it. Questions there? And still I have a lot of kids asking me, how do I upload it? There's videos like on this slide. There's an attachment in Schoology that says how to submit paper assignments in Schoology. So very like step-by-step in there. We are going to have our first assessment this week. It's going to be a quiz over what we've learned so far. So from lessons 1 through 5. So we're planning for it to be Wednesday. It might be bumped to Thursday, but just plan for it to be Wednesday. Questions? All right, so then back to where we left off Friday. All right, so we're on the cool down. So that will be on the paper that you picked up today, the cool down. So you'll know that you met the goal of the lesson if you can graphically represent the data and critique the representations of others. So here, this will be kind of like a weed. Everyone find it. It's on the paper you picked up today. And the paper you picked up today has stuff from other lessons too. So you're going to keep referring back to this paper for other lessons too. All right, but first, we have a large school system summarizes the number of teachers at 51 schools in the area. We're going to create a box plot that shows this information. So what do you need to create box plots? A number line, which we are provided. What do we notice about the number line? What do they count by? Are you sure? Fives, tens. What's each tick mark represent? 10. So they count by 10. They just label every other tick mark. Does that make sense? That way it's like not all cluttered, but they are counting by 10. So that was something we noticed on Friday. Some of your guys' tick marks were a little bit inconsistent. Like it started out counting by 5s, then by 2s, then by 3s. Each tick mark should be like its own even amount, whatever you decide, based on your data. So then, so that's good. We have a number line. It's even labeled. What else do we need to make a box plot? A median, your highest, lowest, your minimum, maximum, your Q1, and good. What do we call that? These 5 numbers grouped together. That's your 5-number summary. All right, your quartiles, which the median is also a quartile. And then your minimum, maximum. So this one, it didn't make you figure these out by hand. All right, it actually just told you. So that's kind of nice. Since it just tells us, we're going to plot a dot above each of these numbers. You try that yourself for like 10 seconds. Plot these numbers above the number line. So like, look, there's the dot for 20. Do the rest real quick. All right, no talking. So you should have plotted the dots. Now compare them to my dots. And fix them if you plotted them incorrectly. So you should have a dot above the 20, above the 110, which has its own tick mark. 65 would be between the 60 and 70 tick mark. 40 has its own tick mark, and 95 would be between the 90 and 100. Make sense? Now, which dots get the vertical lines through them or make up the box? The minimum and maximum do make the whiskers. The question was, which dots make the box? Good, the quartile, including the median, which is also a quartile. So the three middle dots always get vertical lines and then connect the box. And then I usually do the whiskers last, but those connect to the minimum and maximum. Questions there? Would you say that this box plot is overall symmetric? Yeah. I agree. I mean, it's not perfectly symmetric, but it's mostly symmetric, which we'll talk about that in the next one. Question. All right, so number 2, we're going to create a histogram that shows this information. What is like the main thing about histograms I want you to know? Or that a lot of you forgot on Friday. Am I right? I didn't quite hear you, but based on this, I'm not. Well, what about the x-axis? So here's my x-axis. What about it? Does need to be down here? Frequency is actually the y-axis, but good guess. What does the x-axis have? Intervals. Thank you. That's what I was looking for. Now you might see it. They kind of do it a little bit differently this curriculum, but you might see it like where it says 20 to 30 listed down here, or something like that. They kind of do it a little bit differently with both. So know how to do both. The data is given to you. Your histogram is on like the back of your cool down paper, but the data is on the front of it. So you don't necessarily need the one that's on the screen that I know is sometimes hard to see. All right, but from 20 to 30, we have a frequency of 5. So that means here's 20. Here's where 30 would be. It has a frequency of 5, so I'm going to put the bar up to that 5. And then 30 to 40, it has a frequency of 7. So remember, it ends, for this bar, it ends at 30. Well, this next bar starts at 30 and ends at 40. And that one has a frequency of 7. Fill in the rest real quick on your own. I'll freeze it, so that way you don't get a copy. The data is on the front of your cool down paper. All right, but again, the way that they set up their histogram is where they have intervals of 10. If this was you making a histogram from scratch, maybe you want to do intervals of 20. That's perfectly fine, as long as they're even intervals. And then of course your histogram would look a little bit different if you did intervals of 20, because you have fewer bars and higher bars. But yeah, there you go. For example, 40 to 50 has a frequency of 5, which I can see on my histogram and on my chart. 50 would be here. 50 to 60 has a frequency of 6. So make sure you can clearly see that. Questions? All right, now let me ask you a question. Which of these data displays, the box plot or the histogram, and don't say it yet, which of these data displays most easily shows how many schools have at least 100 teachers per school? So think about it. Between the box plot and the histogram, which one displays most easily how many schools with at least 100 teachers at that? All right, tell your table what you think. All right, voices. Now show of hands who thinks the box plot most easily displays how many schools have at least 100 teachers per school. Anyone think the box plot? Who thinks the histogram? All right, now, and again, Landon, why do you think the histogram?
Thanks. You can see more accurately how much is going on.
Good, so like how many schools have at least 100 teachers per school? How many is like, so here's the 100. So to the right of it would be the amount, how many in this bar? How many in this one? So that's 9 schools, right? Can we tell on the box plot class as easily? No, and actually box plots, the kind of downfall of those is that you can't even see how many data points were collected. I mean, without this, you would have no idea. You can clearly see like those 5 numbers we talked about, the minimum, maximum, median, and so forth. But you really can't see much else. You can't see exactly how many schools were above 100. So I would agree that histogram is probably best for determining frequencies and stuff. Good, any questions? All right, so now we're going to do the practice. Now I want you to make sure that you're practicing correctly. So always with like paper assignments, and you know the computer tells you your percent that you got right and wrong. Paper assignments, I always provide the key. Now, although you just copy from the key, because a lot of the answers are more like have variability, we could say. So don't just copy from the key. Don't even bring your pencil over here. If you need to check your answer, bring your paper, look at the answer, and then if it's wrong, go back and fix it. If you have questions, that's a perfect time to ask me is during that time. Everyone know what we're doing? Okay.